Welcome to We Are Venomaniacs, the Venom site's official podcast for all of your symbiote news, reviews, and point of views. My name is Orion, and I'm joined by my fellow co-hosts Carlos,
Yo!
Tyler,
Hello.
and Aaron.
What?
We got the joke.
Bruh.
Let it go. It's the 16th and final week of our Absolute Carnage podcast series. Today we're reviewing the final tie-in and epilogue to the event, Venom number 20. In addition, we'll be reviewing the first post-Absolute Carnage symbiote comic, Scream, Curse of Carnage number 1. And I gotta tell you guys, it's been a freaking 1-2 whopper today with these comics. Like, straight up, they're really great. So you have a great episode to listen to today. So let's go ahead and begin with Venom number 20. Initial reactions, guys?
First of all, this is a Venom book, and you want to tell me why 70% of the book was about this dude named the Maker? Excuse me, this was a false advertisement, so I rate this a 0 out of 10.
Man, you can't rate it 0 out of 10. Venom was in it. He hugged someone.
There, review done. There you go.
He's the one.
No, I liked it. I mean, I definitely, I think one of the consistent issues, I believe, when it comes to people's expectations of Donny Cates' Venom series, is that Donny Cates does tend to hype it up a lot, and that's because he's a salesman. He's got to sell his comic, and I think he makes a lot of promises that maybe people feel aren't lived up to. But the way he hyped up this issue, it was completely worth the hype, I believe. A lot of really cool endings, or tying up some of the loose ends of Absolute Carnage, and also setting up the next event or the next arc or whatever is happening in Venom, but also giving us a huge surprise. And I'll say that the surprise is Ultimate Venom has come.
Ultimate Venom, baby! Yeah, I mean, this issue was pretty eye-opening for me. Well, first off, we get back to the Maker, and it turns out apparently the Phage, Agony, Lasher, and Riot are dead, I guess. So,
I'm going to say it's quote-unquote dead in the same sense that Toxin is dead, where it's another writer can easily bring them back, say, oh, it slinked off somewhere. They're still under the helmet or something he left behind. It's easy enough to bring them back.
Yeah, in 10 plus years, but
I'll take
it personally.
As long as they,
them being dead.
No,
so all these other symbiotes don't serve a whole lot of purpose. I'm fine with just having Venom. Well, I was going to say Carnage, but well,
press F in the chat.
Yeah,
I'll say that symbiotes and Halo Spartans share one thing in common. They are not KIA; they are MIA.
Never die. Just go.
Yeah, they go to hell to regroup.
But yeah, so as we continue on in the issue, so the Maker is talking to a person in a hologram form, and basically, for those that didn't really get the message, Dylan is pretty much a living, breathing codex in human form, and who can pretty much stop symbiotes in their tracks. And he's just giving his hypothesis, his theories on where can this go, because according to the Maker, he was collecting these codexes for a purpose, and it turns out he needed them to somehow bring himself back to the Ultimate Universe, I believe it was.
Yeah,
right?
So what he was doing is he had managed to get the Ultimate Venom suit. It's not an actual symbiote, it's a synthetic suit, but it shares symbiotic qualities, including apparently the symbiote's proclivity or their resilience to interdimensional travel, which makes them very useful for the Maker, because
I'll admit, I was a bit confused on that point because, well, it's cool and all that he's doing this, I've never seen any other multiverse shenanigans where people couldn't travel through portals because it's hard on their psyche or body. Like, Spider-Verse constantly going. Spider-Gwen literally, Ghost Spider, as she's now called, she literally goes to school in 616 now and lives in her home dimension. She's constantly jumping back and forth. So I'm a little bit confused why
you
Donnie's
forget
bringing
she
this
has
up.
a symbiote. Tyler, you forget.
Not a real well, I guess he did.
No, that's
but still,
true.
Even with her, Miles doesn't have one. He's jumping back and forth. He's going through a whole different adventure right now in Spider-Verse.
Maybe the maker has to look into spider people as well.Maybe they share something with symbiotes about reality hopping.
Well, it just feels weird that multiverse travel is such commonplace in the Marvel universe, and it's just weird that he's saying, "Oh, it's I can't make the trip." It's like, why not? You've made plenty of trips already. Is it because he specifically because he got sliced up in Secret Wars? I don't know.
Or is it because his like universe is like destroyed? Like, isn't that what it is now? Like, isn't it like just like poof, like gone? So maybe that's why. I mean,
I don't know.
I don't know, because that's my major complaint is I don't know what half of this stuff is. So
I bet you don't even. I don't even know if a lot of Venom fans will have heard of the Council of Reeds. Like, I'm big into comics, so I knew what they were, but
yeah, like I was 99% sure that it was a Rick and Morty reference to the Council of Ricks. It was like, okay.
Yeah.
That's a reference to the Council of Reeds.
Okay, well,
yeah, you pointed that out. You pointed that out, and yeah, so I kind of see the joke. So yeah, but here's the other thing I was going to say. So now, is this the original Ultimate Venom or the Ultimate Venom #2, or is it the one that Eddie Brock and Peter's dad from the Ultimate Universe created? That's the thing I
was hoping that it was just like the hybrid of Eddie Brock Jr. and the suit we got at the end, because we never had like a resolution of that, and I was kind of hoping that's what it is, but it's probably just most likely just the suit because it's in like the regular, like the bottle that it was in.
Yeah,
either way, it's so cool to see it.
If I remember correctly from reading Ultimate Venom's origin and everything, weren't there more than one sample of the suit? And that
there were 2 samples.
Yeah.
Yes. No. Well, yeah. So there was one sample that Peter got, and then he got rid of it and he like burned it up. But then it turns out Eddie had a second sample, and he used that.
Maybe there's a third.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, sure, but yeah.
And it's perfectly.
And this is just the part where I come and say and inject my own personal bias and just say the Ultimate Universe is garbage, and I cannot wait to see Venom beat up Ultimate Venom.
Oh my god!
I mean, yeah, but just cool to see that like maybe the Ultimate Universe is going to come back, and it's all because of Venom. All because of Venom. The
real Ultimate Universe, not the Ultimate Universe 2.0.
They don't know what they're going to hit them when they get bit with that Venom.
Exactly.
So yeah, because Donnie stated this was going to be a really huge thing that's happening for years to come in the Marvel Universe. So I'm really kind of interested to see where this is going to go. Now, is this going to lead up to next year's event? Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. Yeah. We'll have to wait and see. So
I just wanted to say that. So did that one page confirm that Reyes was a real spawn of Carnage?
Oh, yeah. So I was going to say that he kind of explains why there's all these spawns, and he tried to loop it into all of the Marvel events, which they have, like every single year. So it's kind of a, sure. I mean, I guess we can say that. So Cates is saying that they spawn when there's a threat to the Hive. So you got Carnage, who was born because of the Infinity, event was happening. Yeah. And then you got, I think Toxin was because of.
They said Avengers Disassembled, where it's like the world was tossed into chaos.
Yeah.
Which those events don't really seem comparable to me.
Right.
Like the whole universe being destroyed versus the Avengers being broken up.
I didn't really.
Scorn and Rays were made because of Civil War II.
It was Chaos War and Civil War II.
And then we had we had Sleeper being born because of was it Null?
The Grendel.
Grendel and Carnage, yeah.
Carnage,
which I'm fine with. And it was kind of cute saying, but the Venom suit isn't part of its hive. It's part of the human hive because it cares for humans. Isn't that cute? That's adorable.
I did think it was kind of cute, but it was just the logic is a little bit shaky. Just like, then why? Like, I feel like what about Civil War? Like, I feel like that was a bigger than Civil War 2, and it's like it's kind of weird.
Civil War was before Toxin, right? Yeah. Oh yeah,
just that was that time period.
Oh no, it was not.
Civil War
was because Eddie still had the symbiote.
Yeah, so I guess you could say that too.
Maybe. Maybe it was. Yeah. Maybe it was Mania.
Who knows? There's too many events, so like
so many.
Just tack one in.
Where's the War of the Realm symbiote?
Right. Yeah.
And what event is responsible for the Life Foundation symbiotes?
Well, those were
they
forcibly
pulled out. Yes.
Yeah.
Fake fan. Hashtag
fake fan. My only other negative, like overall, I really like the issue, and like we're getting some teases for big things coming up, and I thought it did a good job of talking with Eddie and Dylan. That was really sweet moments. But I will say, while the art was good, the art shift was a little bit jarring because there was two artists. It was Eben Coelho, and I don't remember the other one.
Yeah,
I had his name down. I'm having my book in front of me. His name was Z. Carlos.
Yeah.
So like it was a fairly similar style, so it wasn't too bad. But I couldn't help but notice it. The first page the first spread I turned to, I was like, wait, what's going on? Something's weird off here.
Right.
It's a different artist.
So like you said, Tyler, I did enjoy the issue, but my problem is if this is a conclusion to Absolute Carnage, I kind of felt it was lacking some things. We didn't see what happened.
I know about Norman and all that.
Yeah, like we didn't have about Norman. We didn't see what happened to the corpse of Carnage, R.I.P. Rip F in the chat.
I feel like,
and we didn't see what happened with Sleeper either. He's just not.
There. No Sleeper. Because of like where and Normie. We didn't see Normie either.
Yeah, and we didn't have any of the symbiote talking to Eddie, like apologizing, just anything like that. Yeah. I mean, like the things between Eddie and his son were great, but it's like. I think there's a few more things it could have told us. I mean, in this book. But.
I mean, I will say the issue did end on a pretty high note because it was a tearjerker. Dylan finally wants to ask all these questions to Eddie, and then he also at the end he asks, "Oh, can you tell me about my mother?" And he has a little tear coming down.
Absolutely,
my heart.
Yeah.
Oh my heart.
Yeah.
I think a lot of these questions are going to be answered still. Like we have the whole What's the web of Venom coming out with the two kids?
The good son.
Yeah. So I think that's probably going to answer some more questions. Maybe even Norman will be answered in that, and we know the solicitors are mentioning something about Carnage still. So
then how about you just wrap up Absolute Carnage in this book, and we just have a whole Web of Venom issue about the Maker? That makes sense to me.
Well, I will say. Like a lot of Venomaniacs seem to really not like that Donnie seems to be drawing things out. But
so I'm just being mean, like for no reason. I mean, it's fine. I'm just saying. I think there's a better way he could have arranged that. But that's fair. Just me. Yeah.
I feel like that calling this issue a conclusion to Absolute Carnage is not a fair label. Like I said before, I think we can call this an epilogue. Like, Absolute Carnage number 5 was the conclusion, and this is just,
And Donnie himself has admitted that, like, he did think it was a little rush, and he wishes he could have gone, 100 pages.
Like, more.
Right.
Yeah, of course, obviously, Marvel's like, you got to cut it off. So it's like, yeah.
Even though the book was selling really well,
Oh, yeah.
Now,
but overall, I still enjoyed it. I am very, very interested in seeing what happens. But I do think that Cates is trying to make Venom a more wide appeal book instead of just being about symbiote stuff, which is why he's doing Reed and all that stuff to get some other folks interested, which is good. But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in Venom Island, even though I would have liked to see what that was about in this issue. But
Venom Survivor Edition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, I enjoyed it. I still got all the variants and stuff, so like, can't call me a bad consumer.
So I would say my favorite part of this issue, besides these huge revelations and everything, is Eddie and Dylan's interaction. Like
real dad hours up in here.
This was like, this is what I'm living for now. This is ever since Dylan was revealed to be his son. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm behind Dylan. Let them have this father-son moment, and we finally get it. And I love that little scene where, you know, Dylan is kind of breaking down because he realizes his father had been there the entire time, but he was never there for him when Carl was taking care of him and abusing Dylan.
Yeah,
and it's just, he's like, what was it? He says, you protect so many people, but not me, and I don't understand.
Because I really like how Dylan just immediately thinks like, you abandoned me to your dad. Like, why would you do that? And he's like, no, that's not like, no.
Like,
I mean, there were circumstances that happened, so
I got goosebumps on that page turn when it's just the two of them hugging it out, and Eddie telling him, "I protect you forever and ever. I promise."
Why is Dylan?
Yeah,
you go ahead.
I was just gonna say that I saw someone on Twitter calling it like Venom's Oscar moment. Like,
but why is Dylan still hiding that from Eddie? Why is he hiding his super secret powers?
I think he's just scared. Like, he started speaking another language, like he was possessed.
Sure. But still, mysteries, secrets, not good.
I was under the impression that Eddie knew, but he doesn't know still, right?
No, Eddie does not
know.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, he all he knows is that Dylan. He knows what the Maker told him about Dylan, that he's some sort of like living codex or something that he or that he has and codex. He doesn't know anything beyond that.
Sleeper could have told him, but Sleeper's not there. He kind of just slinked away, didn't he?
No, yeah. We don't know where Sleeper is right now.
Yeah. He's probably dead, you know. Yeah, I mean, you know.
Well, he has 9 lives, so he's fine.
Yeah.
Just said, I need to go. My planet needs me, and blast it off.
Yeah, but then he gets killed by Null on the way up there.
It's just Sleeper died on the way back to his home planet.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. Corner, you know, he's sulking in the corner, saying, "I guess this is my life now. I guess I'll just be a cat."
That cat thing is just licking his balls or whatever.
Symbiote hairballs. It's fun.
Yeah. All right. So, any other closing thoughts on this issue before we move on?
This is a A+ issue. Go read it now.
This is a Venom book. Read it.
Very, very astute, Aaron. But no, while I am excited to see Bagsy next, I am kind of disappointed we don't get to see another full Eben Coelho arc after this. I really love him on the book.
I'm gonna miss him.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on to our next. This is a really exciting book. Scream, Curse of Carnage #1.
Our first Scream ongoing #1. No miniseries.
Finally,
and it's super
this is
strong.
Official ongoing.
So they say it's not a miniseries, but you know.
Not if we have anything to say about it.
Yeah,
at least 7 issues. You got to say it's an ongoing. So
yeah,
yeah, but you know, I got a really strong Jerry Conway Carnage vibe from this because of the almost Lovecraftian overtones. Although we'll get to it, but it's actually more Beowulfian overtone to it as well.
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
Indubitably.
Yes. Yes.
But I really liked it because, I was expecting this to be, teenage angst or, a teenage drama or whatever.
Instead, it's teenage depression.
young adult,
my life in 2 pieces.
Yeah, instead it's like it's a shattered childhood, and now she's being thrust into adulthood, and she's just completely scarred
with a whole woman
life.
body too. Yeah, she got a whole woman body in like 2 months.
So it's pretty. It's Andy's in a pretty dark corner right now in her life. I mean,
looking like a snack.
Her life has gone to hell.
Okay.
Her life has gone to
someone's being horny on me.
Hell because of her interactions with symbiotes ever since her dad got killed because of Agent Venom, and it's just gone downhill from there.
God damn that Flash Thompson killing fathers.
We'll get to Andy's. We'll get to Andy's.
That's like saying
later.
Gwen Stacy got killed because of Spider-Man.
Yeah, she did.
We'll get to Andy's.
He did snap her neck.
Later.
That's not the point.
Because like his design was not the same as we saw him way back in Bun's run. It wasn't that.
Yeah, I think they had a lot of designs. They said, "All right, guys, let's just go with the, this is a new Scream issue, new series. Let's do a brand new design." We had like 3 variants, and they all had like different designs. But I think they had the right idea of just doing old school Scream, because that's what folks want to see.
Well, they did have a bit of in some panels it looked like she had more white teeth, which it's not a whole lot new, but I still really liked how it looked in the book. The artist Chris Mooneyham, I think he did a fantastic job doing this book. Like it like Orion was saying, there is sort of a Lovecraftian horror vibe to it, and like with the Andy's depression and all that, and I thought it worked perfectly for the mood of the book.
It's very it's very gritty. It's very heavy on the inks. I really like it. I especially really like the second page after the title credits, where it's showing Andy and her kind of progression through the years. At the back there is what she currently looks like. Then in the midground is what we were introduced to back in Cullen Bunn's run. And then in the foreground is her a bit younger, before Cullen Bunn's run. So I kind of like this page because it just really flows, and it encapsulates the some of the visual imagery of this entire issue with the sea critters, the water, the death from below, and just the absolute badness towards the top of the page with her screaming and the symbiote kind of forming over her. I really like that page.
And not to mention the Scream symbiote, I think it was chanting gibberish, or God is coming, I believe. Is it still?
I don't know. I think
it was just random. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just scribbled. I think because that was her trying to like tune it out. She's like, I don't want to listen to this. Yeah. And but yeah, just one more thing about the art I want to say, just that one thing I like to do whenever a new book is announced, and I look up the creative team, like, okay, what else have they done if I don't recognize them? And so I was looking up some of Mooneyham's stuff. I'm like, all right, this looks pretty cool. But then you get to the actual book, and it's like, this looks so good, like way better than what I was expecting. Like, I expected good art, but just the fact that, like I said, the colorist is also a big help to it, just in setting the tone. And I'm just loving this. I'm really loving this.
I will add another thing, Tyler. I'm kind of okay. The art, it was fantastic. It was like something even better. It was like a breath of fresh air. And I'm just glad they stuck with the traditional Scream design, because
very much so.
we were saying how they were gonna change it to a certain design we were not really fond of. But here, they kind of kept it classic, but it feels new, kind of. But it really works, and I really love it.
There was one particular variant design that I really did not want them to use, and thankfully they did.
Yeah. So, I also very, very much enjoyed the book. I mean, it makes sense for the character, but I don't know if I like seeing Andy in all this pain. She needs a hug over here, guys. What's happening?
Pain builds character.
Yeah. She kind of is now living the Eddie Brock lifestyle, unfortunately.
It's called the Curse of Carnage, not the pleasant bundle of flowers from Carnage.
Right, yeah. So, I was kind of unsure if she's hearing voices from the remnants of Noel, or is it more of the symbiote? Like, is the symbiote? So, like, are you saying like the symbiote is making her sort of schizophrenic, like Donna was? Is that? But it's also kind of helping her out too. So it's not it's all bad.
I think there's also a new voice kind of being added into this mix. I mean, not like there seems to be three narrators in this book. There's Andy, there's Scream, and then there's this kind of unknown narrator who I'm figuring is Big Mother, and we'll get to her in a moment.
Big Mama.
But I think in Scream's voice, I believe there's another voice being added in there, and I think it has to do with Big Mother and Grendel, because she seems to be referencing a lot of the Beowulfian themes that Big Mother is playing with.
Yeah, I think the only major question I have is, what is the status on her hell powers?
That's a good question. I hadn't even considered until you
even addressed this issue.
Yeah,
but
that's the only. I mean, that's the only thing that I was kind of curious about. But overall, I did enjoy the book. I liked how we're seeing the symbiote wants to help her out. It's just being corrupted, and the thing with the mom. So she was okay.
Yeah, we'll get to that point.
Sure.
I think the next point we'd want to get to is Big Mother and her introduction. Not really an introduction yet, but setting her up. But before that, I wanted to note just another. It's a smaller panel, but it gives us a little bit more character reference for Andy and her.
Panel of Thompson's grave, you mean?
No.
Oh yeah, it's great.
Flash Thompson cameo alert.
You had to bring it up, didn't you?
I have to every time I see it.
Yeah. No,
this is Flash Watch reporting live.
Yeah, it's the panel of her in her bedroom and seeing the posters around her beds of My Chemical Romance, the Ramones, and the Who really fleshes out her more gothic punk side, and I really like.
Yeah, guys. In case you didn't know, she was already goth, and
super
just
super
in case
goth.
Just in case you couldn't tell.
More punk than any
total punk. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Oh yeah.
But then let's move on to Big Mother. Now, she's not named in this book. Tyler figured it out back when issue number 2's cover was revealed with Big Mother on the cover, and that cover is at the very end of this book as a preview of the next issue, with Big Mother holding Scream.
Wink, wink.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I was saying, she was saying that her mom has been dead, and then you have her mom show up, and it's like no, and then the scream is saying no, don't, it's not your mom, and then the very next page is her being held by this monster.
Yeah,
it's pretty on the nose. It's pretty on the nose.
Great juxtaposition
like what's happening.
There. Yeah. But what I really like about this is that because Big Mother is supposed to be a character from Beowulf. Big Mother is Grendel's mother. And
Angelina Jolie, baby.
Yeah, Angelina Jolie, exactly. But the very first page in which we get her dialogue, when Andy's blood kind of drips into the water, and you see that that eldritch-looking fish monster lurking underneath. There's a quote that she's actually saying, and it comes from the Beowulf text. It comes from what is it? I think it's part 21, Hrothgar's account of the monsters, and that's the account where he talks about Grendel and Big Mother, and the quote is referring to, I believe, the setting of their habitat, which is here I have it highlighted here. It's the uncanny the place is, thence upward ascendeth the surging of waters, Vaughn to the welkin. When the wind is stirring, the weather's unpleasing, till the air groweth gloomy. To thee only can I look for assistance, and the heavens lower. I really like that little inclusion. And if you're kind of confused of what that one part is, it's Wan to the welkin. That's actually Old English for gray to the sky. So the surging waters are gray to the sky.
No, that's yeah.
That means everything and nothing at the same time to me.
But I will say, Aaron, you said that I don't think the symbiote was warning her that's not her mother, because it doesn't actually say anything about it. It's saying no, don't listen, no, don't leave us. I think that's the symbiote also being kind of alone, where it's like yeah, sure, it is sort of foreshadowing that it probably isn't her mother. I do agree that it's probably a fake out, but at the same time, I think the symbiote's more just being like, no, like, we're alone too. You need us, not anybody else. And so
maybe.
Also,
maybe
note that before her mother shows up and the symbiote starts talking, it had been weeks or days or weeks before that.
Days later.
Yeah, it is days later, and she was saying how all of a sudden things had quieted, that the symbiote was no longer talking to her, and now that was really unsettling for her. And then her mother comes in, and all of a sudden the symbiote starts screaming at her. It's like, oh, that's not good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, we had a Aunt May cameo. We didn't say that now, did we?
Yeah, I wasn't expecting Aunt May to show up in Scream #1.
Yeah, I thought she was dying of cancer.
Well, currently the cancer is in remission.
Comic books. Hashtag comic book fame.
It was nice to see Andy meet Aunt May, so that was a pretty nice moment, I would say.
I hope she becomes somewhat of a recurring cast member in the background, like, not like a huge thing.
Tell your nephew about this Andy girl.
Who knows? Maybe Andy will meet Peter. You never know.
Well, she met before.
Yeah. So one thing, so like we were kind of wrong, because I think the first solicitation said that Venom and Spider-Man were going to be in this book.
It said something about web slingers, and then I think in an interview they said that
Venom and Spider-Man,
2 web slingers might show up or something.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't.
No,
it didn't actually. Like in the original solicit, I don't think it said they're gonna. I think it sort of teased them, but didn't officially say it.
I was also gonna bring up the other thing too. It's like so when I think she was on the Brooklyn Bridge, correct?
Yeah.
So was Andy trying to attempt to commit suicide?
Yeah, that's absolutely what she was doing. And the Scream's symbiote, like, nope.
Yeah. I also really like.
She could have tried a little bit harder. I mean, she knows how to get rid of a symbiote now. I mean, come on. Now, try a little harder.
I really like the fact that she goes to these punk concerts into the mosh pits just to drown out, the symbiote.
Hey, symbiote, how do you like loud noises?
Yeah, and then it turns out
this is banging. I like it.
And then it turns out
they're screaming. I like it.
and ironically, the song that was playing was all about abandonment issues, which I'm like, well, that was convenient.
And then, of course, the symbiote turns it around on her and says, I do this because I'm drawing out these lowlives who are coming to attack her, and she wants to take out the lowlives.
And in that mosh pit scene, I really like, there was a really nice artist detail where, a guy goes to shove her and she doesn't even move because super strength or whatnot, that he doesn't even realize. But you can see in the panel, she's just standing stiff as a board as he's ramming into her, not even moving. And then she just punches him so hard in the face, breaks his jaw or whatever.
But then a few panels later, he comes inside with his goons. They try to mess with her. And Scream comes out, and that whole fight scene.
Beautiful splash page. That's my favorite page in the whole book.
And the dialogue, because do you think that was Annie talking or Scream talking? That's the thing that's kind of confusing me, because the dialogue
I think it's kind of a bit of both. They do play up with the schizophrenic of multiple voices, so I think it is sort of her voice and the symbiote's voice combined.
And I think a bit of Big Mother's voice as well, like I said before, especially when she's really playing with the fisherman kind of plays on words, like you're dingling, like bait, nibbling, hooked, that kind of thing. I think there's a bit of Big Mother influence going on.
Because we'll definitely find out, but I'm loving this book. The narration, the dialogue, the story. I'm all about this book. This book is almost perfect. The one thing I will say is that I did not like, the one negative I have for this entire book is the fact that Andy's dad suddenly has a completely new design. It threw me off. Like,
literally, who cares? Literally,
I care. I care.
Literally,
continuity, Aaron. It matters.
Yeah.
Where was where was your anger for Carl Brock's reinvention? Mm-hmm.
At least that had some basis in a sort of non-canon story.
Goddamn Flash fans.
Freaking Flash.
But no, it's just the fact that he's just completely different hair and just color, and he's got a mustache. But it's just weird.
Yeah. Again, I will say, Scream Curse of Carnage #1 was amazing. It was a great start to the series, and everyone who's listening, please support the book because we want more issues.
Buy the book.
Buy it
now. Andy finally gets an ongoing, and it's incredible. Please buy this.
Yes. You should buy it online. You should buy the regular cover, and you should buy 3 variants, just like I did.
I'm gonna buy 2 copies. I almost never buy 2 copies.
And the poster. You can also order the poster.
I'm gonna get the poster. My name's on it at my local comic shop already. Yep. So
bring back the Mania Symbiote, please.
No, Rip. I hate clones.
I'm okay. Honestly, here's the thing about that. I was 100% in the Andy should be Mania camp, but after reading this, I'm okay with her being Scream. Like, this is so good that I'm okay with it.
Yeah. Same here.
I would say that this book overall was a Scream.
Yeah.
10 Screams out of 10 Screams.
I don't get it.
Yeah, definitely. We had 2 solid symbiote books today. Great way to close out and begin a new chapter. So I think that's a good point to put a pin in today's episode and our weekly podcast series. Tune in next month when we review Venom number 21 and Scream Absolute Carnage number 2 before closing out 2019 and looking forward to 2020. You can listen to We Are Venomaniacs on Podbean, Spotify, Apple Music and iTunes, Google Play Music, and YouTube. We can also be found on Twitter at WAV_podcast. Check out our Discord server and become a member of the audience during our next live recording of We Are Venomaniacs. Join us, won't you? As always, thanks to my fellow co-hosts, Carlos, Tyler, and Aaron, for joining me today.
Thanks for listening, as always, guys. We appreciate it.
Very, very
See Frozen 2 now in theaters everywhere.
Shut up, Aaron. Shut up. Don't listen to him. Cut that. Orion, cut that out.
Bruh, he just advertised another one.
Oh, no.
It's all Disney.
And
God damn it, Aaron.
And thanks to the Venom site for permitting us to make this podcast under the TVS banner and all of your generous support. And finally, thank you, loyal listeners and fellow Venomaniacs. You guys make an awesome community, and it's an honor to be your voice on the airwaves. Together, we are Venomaniacs, and we are done with Absolute Carnage.
Oh my god. Since August, people. Yep.
All right, so thank you very much, and have a good one, guys. And now, a word from one of our partners at The Collective, a network of superhero podcasts.
Hey, Ray.
Yes, Connor?
What's black and white and red all over?
A newspaper?
Not even close.
Sunburnt zebra?
What are you doing, Ray? Not even close.
Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast. a weekly podcast coming to you from the High Priest of Khonshu, available on all good podcast catchers.